that just sounds good, right? Listen to that. Oh, man. Imagine sculpting dynamics in time directly within the spectrum, and then hearing a wash of sound transform into something alive. Sculpture is a spectral processor that lets you sculpt thresholds, attacks, releases, gates, delays, and resonances across precise bands, so you can stretch a drone into evolving layers, carve shifting harmonics out of noise, or let a pad shimmer with movement across the stereo field. It can be subtle when you want depth, and otherworldly when you lean into sound design experiments, and in this video we'll dive into the spectral canvas together to make textures breathe. You'll see how chaining the 5 processors shapes the tone in space, how smoothness lets neighboring frequencies cooperate, and how moving between dense resolution and lighter settings changes the feel. We'll start with ambient foundations, and then we'll be pushing into spectral transformations that turn ordinary material into vast atmospheres and tonal artifacts. So by the end, you'll know exactly how sculpture opens up new dimensions in your own ambient workflow. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into sculpture from Discreet Signals. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at sculpture. Now, some of you may remember the video I did for Sorbet, the granular delay plugin back in 2023, and this is made by the same developer. So he's really taken time to work on his craft, and now we're presented with sculpture, and I'm excited to show it here on the channel today. All right, so I've got a demo track here. We're gonna take a listen to the demo track, and then on the other side, we're gonna check out the plugin. All right, so here we go. Now this is sculpture, okay? Now when I fire it up, it comes in downwards mode, okay? And you can think of downwards mode like it's doing the soothe thing, if you guys know that plugin, right? So it's gonna take all of the harsh resonances in your individual track or your entire mix and just take those out. Check it out. I'm gonna lower down the threshold here and you're gonna see and hear immediately what it's doing. Right there, right? So all of those resonances are gone, which is really great. So this is the threshold control. Anything that goes above the line is being suppressed and anything below the line is passing through. You can think of downwards mode like a multi-band compressor across the entire frequency spectrum, which is a lot of engineering underneath the hood. I don't even know how it happens, but you can see, I mean, it really works, right? So you've got finer tune control, which is awesome. So if you double click on the line, you get individual nodes and you can use these to kind of, make finer tune cuts here. I can use my mouse scroll wheel to scroll up and down and get, individual like bell curves and stuff. So that's cool, right? It's really highly effective, especially when you're doing an entire mix. I can hold shift here and move the sides up and down, right? So if I really wanted to get fine-tuned here, I could. That's great to see, okay? And you gotta, of course, you have attack control, release control, input, output, the whole thing. So, I mean, that just took that harsh pad and made it sound so much better, right? So that's cool. Now, it doesn't just work on pads, okay? I've got another track here, which is sort of an experimental track. And let's go ahead and take a listen to this. So this track right here is coming from Phase Plan, okay? And I've got sculpture here, and sculpture, as you can see, I'm sort of suppressing those resonances. I'll go ahead and solo this track. You can hear immediately, it is just taking care of all those harsh kind of resonant sounds, right? I mean, that's awesome. Because it makes my job so much easier, especially because if you had to, guess where these were coming from with an individual EQ, it would take you all day, right? But now you can hear that I can still hear it in my track, but it's, just sitting back there perfectly. Like I don't have to think about it. And that's one of the beauties of sculpture. So again, the name sculpture, you're carving out space for other elements to live. And I think that's one of the most, high praises I can give the downwards mode. It really does carve things out, right? So that's really great. Now, the other cool thing you can do with, sculpture in the utility sort of aspect of it is you can use it in sidechain mode, all right? Each individual effect, there's 5 different effects in sculpture. You can use them in sidechain mode, all right? I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. So here in Ableton, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of the way here. Here in Ableton, you can see that I have sidechain control per plugin, right? So I can go ahead and click on sidechain, and I can use, say, the experimental track as a sidechain, turn up the gain here. And if we go back to my pad, you can see here that now if I put it in sidechain mode right here, that experimental track is coming up the top. You can see how now my downwards mode is being controlled by that experimental track, okay? I'll go ahead and solo it. You guys can hear this. So that experimental track is now influencing this sidechain. You see that? So it's making room for whatever's coming after it, right? So that's cool because that carves out even more space, okay? Let's do this with a pluck. So I've got a sequence here, right? Let's go ahead and sidechain the pad to the sequence. Boom, right? And there's that sequence coming right up the top. So again, that's found in the sidechain mode. Up here, we have sidechain. We can even invert it if we wanted to, right? So each effect, like I said, there's 5 different effects: downwards, upwards, gate, delay, and resonator. They all have individual sidechain control, which is really cool, okay? So again, highly effective stuff. And if you're using this on, say, an individual track, it works on multiple tracks, even on your entire mix. So that's just the beginning of it. Now, on the other side, we're gonna talk about the more creative uses for sculpture, as well as using it on entire tracks. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the more creative uses for sculpture. Sculpture is so much more than just a resonance suppressor. It's a really creative tool that can be used for a lot of sound design applications, and that's what I want to showcase here. So I've got a simple sequence coming from Harmony Bloom that's going into an instance of Serum, and of course we're going to check out sculpture. So let's go ahead and hit play here, and you can hear simple sequence here, right? But back in sculpture, like I said, you have 5 different effects, and you can order those effects in any way that you want, right? So I'll go ahead and switch it from downwards to delay, and we'll check out the delay mode, all right? Now delay is like a spectral delay. So it's gonna delay across the entire frequency spectrum, which is really cool, all right? I'm gonna lower the threshold here. Now one cool thing you can do is you can adjust the attack time, which is the length of the delay, on a slope, so you can hear how it's delaying across the entire frequency. Check it out. Oh yeah. So now what we're hearing is the higher frequencies are being delayed longer than the lower frequencies. That's a really cool effect, all right? The release control is like the feedback of the delay. We can do the same thing here. So the length of the feedback is longer on the high end. I love that. That is so cool, right? So that's really great, okay? Now, the other cool thing about sculpture is you have FFT settings, which you can think of like the resolution. So you click on the menu up here. Right now, we're sort of at a minimal FFT, which is only 2,048 bands across the entire frequency spectrum. But think about it. If you go up to the max, which of course I can't do because my CPU can't handle it, but that's 131,000 bands across the entire frequency spectrum. Crazy. Let's just go up to 4,000 here. See how it sounds? Oh yeah. Gorgeous. So now, let's use a resonator after this. A resonator is like a sort of, it's gonna take individual resonances and then make those into like these beautiful bell sounds. Check it out. So I'll add a resonator here. I'll click on the plus sign, add a resonator, lower the threshold. hear that? So whatever goes above the line is being resonated. So those of you who've been asking me like, I need a good resonator plugin. Here you go. I mean, this is it, right? Now, of course, that could be the beginning of your sound design chain, right? We could add something like, say, I don't know, beam grains after it. A little granular action, right? And of course, what goes after this? Well, how about a good reverb? Oh yeah. I love it. So now we're taking the original spectral delay, putting it through a resonator, then putting it through a granular plugin, and then a reverb. That's gorgeous, man. I mean, seriously, how many plugins do you know that can do this? Not many. And again, you have fine-tuned control here, right? I could go in here and just say, all right, well, I really love that high end. I'm gonna emphasize that, right? Bring this up. Oh yeah. Love it. Adjust the threshold here. Fantastic. Resonator, same thing, right? So again, we've got presets up here. You can chain these together. I can even put a sort of downwards after the whole fact, right? And do the same thing all over again. So it's mix and match. And that's what makes Sculpture so effective, is whatever you have going into it, you can shape it in any direction that you want and take something that either sounds harsh or sounds interesting and then make it into something entirely different. That's what's so amazing about Sculpture. So that's one of the more creative uses of it. Now let's take a listen to Sculpture on an entire mix and see what it can do for you. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a listen to what Sculpture can do on an entire track. I've got 3 different tracks here with 3 instances of Sculpture, and each one is doing something different. So let's go ahead and take a listen to the first one here. And you guys can hear that I'm giving this a little bit of a bass boost here, right? So I'm using the downwards mode to kind of suppress that higher frequency sequence here, but I'm using the upwards mode to kind of give it a bass boost, right? Sounds good, okay? Here's what it sounds like without it. Here's what it sounds like with it. Nice little bass boost there, right? So again, chaining these effects together, using them in highly specific ways. Sculpture is like your Swiss Army knife, right? I love it, all right? That's the first track, okay? Now with the second track, I really wanted to reimagine the entire track. So I took an instance of Sculpture and I really went hard on a frequency curve and brought out the parts of the track that I either wanted or didn't want, right? So I'm leaving the bass alone here, but I'm going in the middle here and really taking out some of those harsh resonances, right? And that's completely reimagined what this track sounds like. Before, it sounds like this, a little bit harsh, a little bit mid-rangey, and now, there you go, right? So again, carving into your track. You could use this on an individual track. You could even use it in your mastering chain. You know, very like as subtly or as aggressively as you want. It's a highly effective tool, right? So that's the sort of reimagining. Now on the last track here, I wanted to provide a little more air to my track, meaning I wanted a little more clarity, okay? So check this out. This track here, you can hear that I'm using downwards mode to kind of take some of that bass down, but then I'm using upwards mode to really give it a nice lift on the high end. So if you find your tracks aren't sounding clear enough and you need more clarity, Sculpture's got you, all right? That's what it sounds like before, and now after. Oh yeah. I mean, that just sounds good, right? Listen to that. Oh man. Anyway, now that you guys have seen, Sculpture is like your Swiss Army knife. I mean, it really does everything. You can, suppress resonance with it. You can sidechain, you can gate, you can use it as a creative sound design tool with the delay and resonance. It really does it all. So I'm gonna leave a link down below for Sculpture and a code for 50% off Sculpture for a limited time. So you can use this code, you can grab Sculpture, and like I showed you, you can use it on individual tracks, entire mixes. It's up to you. The future looks really bright, and I'm super excited to see what you guys do with this plugin. Anyway, I want to thank Discreet Signals for sponsoring this video. And yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Have you always wanted a plugin like this? Have you been waiting for a plugin like this? Let me know. I mean, because I'm really excited about it, and of course you're going to see more from me and Sculpture in the future. So I'll be back again soon with more videos like this one. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Take good care, and as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. I'm Chris from Signs of Life, and I'll see you guys in the next video.